welcome to the Toronto Business Journal's report on small businesses in the city. My name is Adina Samuels, and I'm excited to introduce this series where we'll be welcoming on a number of representatives of small business communities in Toronto to talk about how the pandemic has changed the way they do business and to share what unique services they're offering Torontonians who are looking to support the local economy at this time. I'd like to introduce today's guest, Billy Dertilis, owner of Red Rocket Coffee and chair of the Danforth Mosaic Business Improvement Area, which formed in 2008 and ranging almost 3 kilometers of Danforth East, boasts plenty of restaurants, food shops, and stores, all with an authentic feel in this world of the mass-produced. Hey, Billy, welcome on.
Thank you, Adina. Nice to be here.
Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. That was a good intro. Good intro on our part of town and what we want to be to people. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about it. I'd love to just hear from you. Can you tell us a little bit about Red Rocket Coffee, how it started, what it's known for in the city?
Red Rocket Coffee, I think we've been around for about 16 years now. We started down on Queen Street. We now have 2 locations, one here on Danforth, and then there's one at Wellesley and Jarvis as well, so one a little more downtown. We try and really be a community hub. We've built our business on this idea of intimacy and inclusiveness and contact. So the idea of a lockdown and the idea of having to now separate yourself from others, it has been a challenge for us. So truly we're trying to redefine what we mean to people while still representing a place where people can converge and meet and share with each other. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the ideas, our concepts of intimacy and contact have had to completely be redesigned.
Right.
I know that your phrase, or at least your Instagram bio, is that you make Toronto East a happier, more inspired place. So Let's just transition a little bit to the pandemic. When it hit in March, what was going on in your mind?
It's tough to say. I mean, I wanted to stay open as long as possible. But the truth is, the most pressing reason why we shut down, and we did shut down on, I believe it was March 20th. Both stores were closed for at least 2 months. Reason being that staff was getting increasingly uncomfortable. And if that was the case, then that was a good indication that it didn't make sense to stay open. I think there were, we could have argued that we were part of we could have been defined as an essential business given that we sell food, but I don't think coffees and cookies are really as essential as we would like them to be. I mean, we weren't feeding, hunger. It made sense for us to shut down for a while. That said, we pivoted to online sales. And it's something that, given what I think our positioning was, and my belief that a coffee shop either makes it or breaks it based on a 2-block radius, it was never that important for me to focus on an online presence.
Right.
So that was a hard pivot for us to focus on now delivering to people's homes. And what we did is we were delivering beans and our products that we bake here, we were giving it to our customers frozen so that they could bake them at home.
I love that idea.
They were recreating the experience of coming into the coffee shop by pulling whatever they were used to buying here out of their own oven and having it fresh.
Yeah,
now that has caused
the smell of your baked goods into their own homes. Very cool.
That's caused a new challenge, is that now people are used to things coming out of the oven and eating it 10 minutes after it's out of the oven, rather than sitting on a shelf for a few hours. So we are now reconfiguring so that when we reopen, we're going to have a fresh bake aspect that we didn't have before. So we're actually putting a little theater bakery in the front of the house, so that we can recreate, funny enough, the COVID experience, where people were at home and got to enjoy a warm scone or a warm muffin fresh out of the oven. So that's what we're doing now, and that's what we're planning on in the coffee shop.
One thing I'd just like to emphasize is I really like the way that your business decisions were informed by your employees' reactions. Like, it wasn't just, it wasn't a purely business decision to close down because it ultimately couldn't have helped sales. But you were able to recognize that, the community aspect, which is something that Red Rocket Coffee prides itself on,
Right.
the community needed your support and needed
Mm-hmm.
you to make that extremely difficult decision to close for some time. So that's very impressive to me.
A lot of people, I don't know if I should say this or not. A lot of people focus on making customers happy. That's never been my philosophy. As long as I can make staff happy, then they're going to make customers happy. Right. So it's very important for me that I have 100% buy-in from staff. And so exactly what you're saying, if they're not on board, then I'm not, I don't feel, I mean, obviously there's times when I'm going to push a certain idea, but if there's no buy-in, then I can't do it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
No one likes a miserable barista.
Mm-hmm. And I think you touched on this a bit, but what do you think your business has learned from this reality shift? Now you're talking about this shift to sort of freshly baked goods sort of being produced all the time once you do reopen. What have you learned?
I've taken some time to think about how we're going to move forward and what the business is going to be. And I've noticed, I've been looking at different industry trends, and there are 4 that I've kind of really honed in on. The first is, limited exposure to any sort of public setting has made this idea of experience even more important than ever. So someone need, if before the pandemic we could go out all the time, if now we only have a few choices, those choices are going to be informed by what's really the best spot that's going to give me the best experience, that's going to make me feel the best possible. Mm-hmm. So that's number 1. Number 2 obviously is safety and hygiene, and demonstrating that we're taking that seriously. The third is this idea of food and drink as an expression of belonging, and the fact that people, perhaps one of the legacies of this lockdown is going to be a sense of loneliness and isolation that people are going to carry with them for a long time. And if someone can come into the shop and feel like we're taking care of them, that's going to go a long way in making the neighborhood a better place, and finally, technology is not going away. Everything needs to still be even more Instagrammable than ever, because you and me are talking over the computer. We're not talking to each other face to face. So this idea of making sure that we're tailoring whatever we do to whatever technology is going to enable communication between people is also.
Those 4 things resonate with me, but I also think they pose a unique challenge because the increase in social media, which is trend number 4, also often leads to an increase in feelings of loneliness or isolation. And it's a business owner's kind of responsibility to find a way to be that welcoming voice on social media, on Instagram, to make people feel like they're actually not alone. So how have you used social media, your websites, your outlets to continue to build that form of intimacy or community that you strive for?
I don't know if I've done a great job, to be completely honest. I mean, I think we've lived up to our 3 values when it comes to our physical space, and those values are optimism, inclusiveness, and comfort. But whether or not we've managed to make the world a better place online, I'm not 100% sure yet. We're still working on that. But just the idea of sharing ideas, and every time over the summer when customers would buy some baked goods and bake them in the oven, I would encourage them to put it on Instagram. So we were sharing those, and obviously that creates a sort of camaraderie and a sort of sense of belonging. But beyond that, I honestly don't know what the answer is. It's something that I still need to think about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how has the pandemic affected your BIA? What does it feel like on Danforth East? What's the atmosphere like these days?
Well, I mean, it was a ghost town for the first few months, but I think it's coming back. Our BIA, and I think this could probably be true for a lot of BIAs, but not the ones that you usually think of. I'm thinking of more the smaller neighborhood community ones. You know, we're a spot where you can still truly find almost everything that you're looking for. So it still has a real sense of authenticity and a real sense of variety. We're not just a strip of nightclubs or a strip of restaurants. We have hardware stores, we have services, we have barbershops, we have accountants, we have dentists, as well as coffee shops and restaurants. So I think that we have had an overwhelming wave of support from the community and from the residents. And this is something that the BIA has taken very seriously, is nurturing the relationship between us and DECA, which is the Danforth East Community Association. Okay. And I've got a call with them in an hour and a half. And we've worked very hard to make sure that we are aligned and that we're not, you know, I mean, before I joined the board, there were actually disagreements between, you know, the business association and the residents association. I mean, how does that make any sense? I mean, these are our customers. We need to cater to them and make sure that we're both on the same side. So we've had great support, and truly anyone who lives around this part of town, and even if they're working at home, they can take a stroll down on Danforth and find everything they need. So there is a certain degree of hyper local activity that is happening now that perhaps wasn't happening before. People aren't jumping in their cars to either go to work or go to a big box store. They're staying local. And so I think within the lockdown, there's been a real opportunity for us to establish even better ties and relationships with our neighbors.
Right, and I've definitely felt that surge of responsibility or desire to assist our local businesses and sort of encourage and support them in any way that they can. I'm wondering, how can we continue to nurture and encourage these feelings of hope and positivity in our small businesses and also in a place like your BIA?
Mm-hmm. I think also, you know, the lockdown has really put into relief what's important for a BIA to do. And, you know, sometimes I think we go a little, perhaps we go off on tangents and forget what really is important. What's important is making sure that we keep foot traffic high. What's important is that we're making sure that whatever we're doing looks hospitable, and that means, you know, physical improvements. It also means advocacy, and we've done a lot of work with all levels of government to make sure that our voice has been heard, and especially with the city councilors, where we worked on Destination Danforth, which was a whole initiative that saw cycle lanes be installed, parking no longer being restricted to no more rush hour parking restrictions, okay. Planters, patios, and an easing of restrictions as well on who can put what kind of table, what kind of chair outside on the sidewalk. So, you know, there are moments when you can walk down the street and it honestly, it feels like you're in another country. Like, you know, all of us have that experience. Well, maybe not now, but all of us have that experience of coming back from Europe going, why can't we have nice things too? Right. So, you know, I think on some level we've achieved that. And I hope that long term, the lesson is that, you know what, things don't fall apart when we're not as I'm trying to find a nice way of saying it, as restrictive in terms of permitting and bylaws as I think we traditionally are.
Right. And I think there's this sentiment that people, everyday citizens, want to do more. So right now, do you have any advice or any ideas of what the average Torontonian can do to support local businesses?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is to visit them and you know, patronize them. But I think that only goes so far. And I think the plight of small businesses and of Main Street, if you will, has a lot to do with tax policy as well as zoning. So anytime that anyone has an opportunity to advocate for small businesses and advocate for increased density along the retail strips, whether that be Danforth or that could be Eglinton, it could be Spadina, wherever we're talking about. And anytime that someone can advocate for less of a gap, now that it's hard to say, but less of a gap in terms of how much commercial taxes are compared to residential, because Toronto has the highest spread in the country between residential taxes and commercial taxes, and so that's detrimental to businesses like ours, especially when we're competing with big box stores that are in industrial parks, which have even lower tax rates than residents do.
Right.
So I think anytime that a regular citizen can advocate for our interests, I think that would go a long way in helping us out.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And lastly, just before we close, I'd like to know what your message is today on behalf of your business and also as chair of the Danforth Mosaic BIA to our city, to our government, and to fellow Canadians.
I think one would be a message of gratitude. I think that a lot has been extended to businesses, especially by the feds, in terms of loans, in terms of grants, in terms of subsidies. I don't think that without the rent subsidy, as flawed as it is, and without the wage subsidy, and without SEBA, I don't even know how many stores would have closed. I mean, but I know it would have been a lot more than now. And when I look around, sure, there are some empty storefronts, but potentially not as many as there could have been. So yeah, that's one. One is a sense of gratitude that we've been supported through government initiatives. The second is that we've been supported through local initiatives by residents coming and supporting our shops. I think the biggest message that I think I would personally communicate, as well as I think that the BIA would communicate, is that we truly are a part of the neighborhood, and we want to be good neighbors, and we want to contribute to the community. And any way that we can do that, we're down for it. And if we can help create a physical setting that improves people's lives and contributes to that idea of a high street where people can go and mingle and shop and see each other, obviously in a safe way. And we'll see. Of course, we don't. I don't know what that looks like in a year or 2 years from now. Nobody knows. But I think that's what we want to mean to people, and that's what we want to do for people. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your honest words. It really feels like in this short time that we've been able to talk, that the mission statement of your shop is also the mission statement of who you are as an individual and as a Torontonian. And it feels like the experience that you're giving customers and fellow members of your BIA is a very authentic one and a meaningful one. So thank you for spending time with me today and for sharing your perspective and your BIA. And thank you to all of our viewers. For more information, you can take a look at tobj.ca and shopredrocketcoffee.com to find all your coffee needs online.
Perfect.
It's a mango, Indian mango, of course, and there's a yogurt, and it's sweet, and some of the mangoes are kind of sour, so we use some honey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mango, yogurt, and honey.
Yeah.
Mango, yogurt, and honey.
Chris, enough for me now, I think.
I mean, I'll do it.
You got the 3 years.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adina Samuels, and you're watching the Toronto Business Journal. Today, Yan Kaczorowski joins us to tell us more about his experience visiting the Danforth Mosaic Business Improvement Area. Hey, Yan, how are you?
Hello. I'm fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice to see you here. So, yeah, and I had a great chat with Billy, who's the chair of the Danforth BIA, but an online interview can really only tell us so much about a place. Can you give us a little bit more information about your time at the Mosaic BIA?
Absolutely. So to be honest, I was myself really surprised. Growing up and living here in Toronto, you don't always know the full story about every district and region. So kind of going through the Danforth and exploring it, the more time I spent there, the more I was shocked and surprised and kind of found little gems here and there. And then when I pieced the whole picture back together, I realized how beautiful, multicultural, and communal it really is. From little shops that have very unique antiques to really welcoming and warm shop owners and cafe owners. It was just a fantastic experience all throughout, and I felt like I kind of went on a little tour outside of Toronto. Really, it didn't feel like what Toronto was like. It felt a little bit like I escaped into a different region of the world.
Can you give us one highlight of the trip?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we visited an Indian cuisine, an Indian restaurant, and the owner was so nice to us to let us try out a delicious Indian mango drink. Talked to us a little bit about the decor and about his style, so that it was just beautiful to come into a shop in Toronto, in Canada, and kind of experience a completely different culture in a very warm environment.
Absolutely. And the atmosphere, what was it like walking around the streets of the Danforth Mosaic?
It was very alive. If I had to choose a word, it would definitely be alive. Stuff happening everywhere. Events,
That's awesome.
coming, talking, people interacting. And then when we reached a certain part that was a park, you wouldn't even know that it's COVID if someone told you. It's just everyone's having a blast. It's life. It's beautiful. It's buzzing.
Well, that's great to hear. Sounds like it's a place I've got to check out for myself. Well, thanks so much, Jan, for your time, and let's check out the rest of the video.
Absolutely.
Awesome and unique businesses and seeing what they're all about. We're starting off at Red Rocky Cafe. Here's the owner. Treated me to some nice coffee. Really delicious, actually. And yeah, we'll be walking through Danforth and checking out some awesome businesses. Let's start. Where are we headed to?
We're going to go this way.
Awesome.
Yeah. So actually the first place that we're going to check out is called Danforth Wellness, and they're a general health place. So if you need chiropractics or if you're more into naturopath medicine, they got you covered there. So anything that ails your body in terms of pain.
Let me just make sure. So what I love about the Danforth is that it's always alive. I lived here for like half a year.
No way. Where?
Near Dawnlands.
Oh, excellent. All right.
This place is always buzzing. And
Well, and it's even more so now with everything the city has done. I know they're starting to clean up a lot of this installation they did for the summer. But the fact that we had these plants and they put the cycle lanes and we had the opportunity to really expand our patios as a response to the lockdown has really, number one, helped, given a lifeline to businesses.
yeah. Check this out, though.
But more important.
This is cool.
Yeah, no, we already came here. We came here the other day. This is a games, board games spot, and pre-pandemic, it was full of kids playing games with each other. Very analog, no digital or anything. And now they've kind of pivoted to selling board games to home because a lot of families don't have that much to do.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were talking about the bike lane, the restaurant installations.
It's given a lifeline to restaurants, but it's also really upped, I think, the look and feel, the aesthetic, and just the feeling you have when you're walking down the street. To be able to have some activity going on here, some activity going on there, people sitting on patios.
It gives a European vibe.
Absolutely, how many people, we all have that same, well, not now, but we all have that, a lot of people have that same reaction when they come back from Europe saying, why can't we have nice things in Toronto?
Yeah.
Well, here we are. We can have nice things, and I hope that one of the takeaways is that, we can sometimes bend the rules a bit, and the world doesn't end. We can put a table out on the street, on the sidewalk. We can maybe let someone walk around with a beer in their hand, and society didn't collapse around us.
Is that something that's being pushed for here in Danforth?
I mean, I think the city's been super flexible lately and giving us a lot of leeway to do things that we wouldn't usually be committed to do. I don't know how long it's going to last. I hope it lasts longer, and if there's anything that I can do to kind of push that point, I definitely will. Because I would like to see this street as animated as possible. And I think, when you look at the lockdown, people spending more time at home, commuting less. We've almost got an uptick of traffic, of traffic. There's more people and more new people hitting our shops and our retail strip now that wouldn't usually, because they'd usually jump in a car and go somewhere else.
It totally makes sense. I mean, during the pandemic, you don't want to be hanging out around malls, closed spaces.
Yeah.
And it's, they say in times like these, in times of pandemic, of winter, those that are the true winners will shine through. And it's amazing that you guys are taking advantage of what's seemingly a really bad, obviously, event worldwide. But you guys are taking this time to promote businesses, to help them grow, empower them, venture off into things that they didn't think about before, like putting a table on the street.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It's the little things that make a difference. It's absolutely the details.
So, in terms of like perception of Danforth, because even though I did live here, but I don't know much about it at all.
Right.
I think Colin started telling me a little bit of history, but so if I recall correctly, in 1940s and 50s, it was the most popular place in Toronto.
I don't know if it was most popular. I would definitely. I would say that Danforth has gone through a number of iterations, and it used to be a very main street. And what I mean by that is that you had everything going on here. It was its own ecosystem in a sense. You had people working, people living, and people even light industry. Down toward Victoria Park, you had they were producing car parts. Shoppers World is an old factory.
Interesting.
If you ever look up, you'll see the factory windows. They're kind of angled like that. And back then you had very large families, immigrants, starting with the Irish wave, and then the Italian wave, and then the Greek wave, and now is the Ethiopian wave. And it's always hosted newcomers. But one thing that has changed since the 50s and 60s is that it became a little more of a highway, a little more of a traffic thoroughfare for cars, rather than a street where people walked and played and lived. So, as we lost employment along Danforth, and as traffic from other parts of the city just cut through, that had a huge impact on retailers. So I find that what we've done here perhaps is a way of going back in time to a time when this was a real high street, when businesses were able to grow and prosper off of the local community and off of residents that lived here. And that idea of being able to walk to things, I think, is going to only become more and more important as, more important over time. And I think the pandemic really triggered that into high gear. I think the pandemic or the lockdown has accelerated trends that were already there.
That's true.
People wanted to be more local. People wanted to be able to walk to do their shopping. People didn't want to commute as much. People wanted something slower. So if we can just capture all that and ride that trend, then perhaps we could grow.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think because we all have, just as people, as cultures, we have so many different personalities, and sticking to the same mold of one coffee shop, one store, one restaurant, it doesn't work. It definitely does need to spread out into cool, unique little shops. A coffee shop that's like this, a coffee shop that's like that.
Of course.
One for hipsters, one for.
Well, and that's what people don't realize too. Is when you get these clusters of sort of the same retailers. that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you get 3 or 4 competitors all on one block, what that does is increase business for everybody. Everyone knows that, oh, I need to look for this one specific thing. Let's say vintage furniture. We're going to visit 2 of them today. You know?
Sorry for the interruption, but I've never seen a Tim Hortons takeout window.
Yeah.
This is new.
Well, for pedestrian window.
Pedestrian
We're
window.
very pedestrian friendly here.
Yeah. So a vintage store.
So if you have 2 vintage stores beside each other, and I now am thinking to myself, I want to get something vintage, I'm going to go to that block where there's more than one store.
Yeah.
Because I know that that the likelihood of me finding something is double to triple.
That's very true.
So this idea of clusters is something that works for us as well. And we have a cluster. We just passed it anyway. I didn't point it out. We have a cluster of fitness. We have what is it called?
Bar strip.
Yes, but
My favorite.
What is it called when you do CrossFit? We have a CrossFit and a regular gym and a spin studio and a cycle shop, all within 100 meters of each other. I've got my coffee shop. It's a Starbucks right across the street. You've got Pomerosa, another half block away, and you have Mofer Coffee too. So right within another 100 meters, you have 4 other coffee shops. This is a good thing. It's a good thing to have people come together, compete a bit with each other. It keeps our game up as well. I don't want to get lazy, so Starbucks is keeping me on my toes.
Yeah. What's so fascinating, and I think Toronto is definitely one of the biggest highlights of that in the world, is not only, let me backtrack, but what's the thing that we all miss most during the pandemic? I feel like I've heard a lot of that is travel. Everyone's missing, everyone's daydreaming about travel, etc., etc. I keep telling people, you don't have to leave Toronto to travel the entire world. You can literally get in your car and go on a world tour.
Or your bike.
Or your bike, that's true. Or well, it depends where you live. I live a little bit up north, so I can't walk here. But not only now is it a world tour, what you're also making me realize is that it caters to so many different personalities, interests. So that board game cafe, speaks to the little nerdy boy inside of me that love this kind of stuff. And if I never saw it, I would have never known it.
Right.
So the foot traffic thing also really makes sense. I mean, encourage people to walk through and realize different interests or hobbies that they may not even know that they have.
Yeah.
I would totally love to go in there and play some board games, but I would never do it if I didn't see it.
I don't have the data to prove this, but I feel as though we have a pretty good survival rate in our BIA with respect to businesses getting through the pandemic. And I think that reflects the fact that we have businesses that actually serve a real purpose. We're not just a strip of bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
We have a hardware store, we have grocery stores, we have flower shops, we have
flower shops.
We have a yoga studio.
There's the flower shop over there.
All these businesses that serve a specific need, but also serve a local need. It's not as though, and it should be said, our part of the Danforth, I think, is very different than what most people associate with the Danforth. Most people think of the Danforth as a Greek town. We're a little outside of Greek town, and
Stop it.
And so, it really is a robust community of businesses that have a lot to offer and really serve all the needs. There's really no reason why someone couldn't find what they're looking for across these food providers.
Absolutely. That's the kind of feeling you're getting, for sure. You don't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, where are we now? What's our stop?
This is Danforth East Wellness. I'll let Colin give you
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's chiropractic, registered massage therapy, anything that ails your body. We're actually going to talk to Kat, who owns the place. She's going to give us a little rundown of how she's doing during the pandemic and why she chose to open up on the Danforth.
Cool. Let's go in and check it out.
brother?
I love it.
We gotta wait.
Oh, we gotta wait.
Yeah, she said 11:45.
I love coffee. I drink it all the time, and I like it black because I want to taste the actual, the fruits and the nutty taste and etc. I love this one. This is more down my alley, like smoky, woody. not
Excellent.
not fruity.
I'm glad to hear. It's hot.
How did you decide to start a coffee shop?
My brother's here.
Your brother.
Yeah, so I was not. I mean, we grew up in the food business, being Greek and all. I feel like it's second nature for me. But I never wanted to be in hospitality. I thought it was beneath me, to be completely honest.
Really?
Yeah. But
What did you dream of?
well, I mean, look, I went to school, I did my MBA in ramen. I studied abroad. I worked abroad in a large multinational. But then I got pulled back to Toronto for family reasons.
Yeah.
And then decided to join forces with my brother that already had the coffee shop going. And that's been, what, 10 years now? And it's going great. I mean, you know what? I don't have to answer to anyone else.
Yeah. No, of course.
You know, there's no man to answer to.
It's absolutely. As long as you go to sleep happy and wake up happy, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's cool, actually. But I think on the topic of what we're talking about, of local businesses, finding your passion, your interest, you went to Rotman MBA. I actually did a minor in Schulich. Yeah, so I totally feel you. Like, I think growing up, you want the grandiose.
Yeah.
You see the high rise, the suits, etc. And I love wearing suits and going to official business meetings. But it's not human. I feel like it's removed from the human.
Yeah.
Human is this. Human is
Well,
not.
I mean, for me, the option or the bonus that I have of being able to walk to the shop and see people that I know and have good conversations and chat with them and catch up on their lives. I mean, that's something that really feeds my soul. And to be able to give them a little smile at the end of the day and send them off a little happier than they walked in. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah. That caters to the more so to the human emotion. Funny, actually, last night I watched Matrix 2. I can definitely say Matrix is my favorite movie now. But Matrix 2, and it was really exploring the depths of human emotions, the human condition, the human status quo, and nothing more than a street like this and all the life, all the different interests, all the authenticity.
Yeah.
It's a buzzword nowadays, but authenticity in the core.
Yeah.
Talking to the person that walked into your coffee shop. There you have someone enjoying their cigarette on a chair on a, what day is it today? On a Friday. Flower shop. Beautiful day in November. This is life. There's nothing else. That's it. It's right here.
Pretty good for November.
Yeah. It is. Absolutely.
Pretty good. I think this is the
Warmest November
on record.
Yeah.
They have
Ooh, all right, global warming. Let's hope Trump gets in. No, don't ever put that on camera. That was a joke. Did you hear though?
Yeah.
Did you hear that Biden is now in the lead in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yes, it just flipped. Yeah, that's crazy.
Who would have guessed? Mail-in ballots.
I mean, I think everyone's just pretty traumatized by the last time. And even this time, the polls did get a lot of shit wrong. Come on. Yeah. Like a lot of stuff wrong.
Oh, the polls had 90% on
Biden. They said he was going to win Florida.
I have two separate groups of friends. Some half of them bet on Trump. Like, I'm talking about thousands of dollars in bets.
Wow.
The other of them on Biden. So I'm just waiting to make fun of one of them. I don't do that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, let the American people decide. Whatever.
No, but it's
too risky.
going to be Biden. But Trump's going to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3-month ordeal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you guys saw this morning, Elections Canada actually did a whole information campaign being like, this would never happen in Canada. Yeah, they did. So it actually turned out pretty well because people were like, wow, I'm really grateful for Elections Canada for keeping stuff together.
I think throughout this, a lot of people have become very grateful for Canada.
Yeah.
I think our passports.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even to the degree, the grants and the subsidies that we receive, I mean, I think those are unparalleled. I don't think there's any other country that's done as much.
Yeah, I think the only one that rivals us is New Zealand, for the most part.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah. But obviously they had a much harsher lockdown, and it was way stricter. than ours. Like, you were like legit not allowed to leave your house under any circumstances unless it was for food. Versus like here, you know, we kind of had that. It was a suggestion more than it was like an actual order type of thing. But honestly, they're an island, so they have the benefit of they just close the borders and nobody's coming in. Versus, you know, for us, we have snowbirds constantly endangering Canadians, regardless of which nationality they fall under, whether they're American or Canadian. You know, a huge amount of our cases actually came from the States. So.
That's true.
People coming back from spring break and returning to the country when America was already having its outbreak. Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So,
it's just not great.
I'm originally from Israel, and a lot of my family still lives there. It's a complete shit show there right now. The government's being strict. They had like a complete lockdown, not allowed to leave your house, but the people just don't give a damn.
Yeah.
I think it's about government obedience and like the general trust
of your government.
Yeah, of the people and of the government for sure.
Yeah.
You're saying they're not following instructions?
In Israel, no.
You
Zero.
know, it's funny. I'm very surprised. You know, I mean, Greece did a really good job with the lockdown and following instructions. But you know, after a little bit of thought, it makes sense because no Greek will refuse a suggestion of just staying home and not going to work. I think they're like, okay, I'll just sit on my balcony, have my look on. Because I mean, Greece is. I mean, I've never been to Israel, but I would assume that a lot of the urban centers, maybe a little bit, not the most modern, a little bit of a sort of 20, 30-year-old Tel Aviv, where everyone's got that balcony, and everyone's got the awning that comes on top, and like that becomes a true living space where, you know, you spend half the time in your apartment is out on your outdoor space.
Yeah. Especially with such nice
It's
weather.
much easier. Exactly. It's much easier with nice weather.
Yeah.
No doubt. But it's actually interesting. I never gave it a thought in that direction. I just thought it was about people being strictly rebellious. But it's true, I suppose, that, for example, my girlfriend's from Spain, and she's saying the same kind of thing. You know, if you tell the Spanish people don't work to the home. But I feel like in places like, let's say in Israel, where it's always under some kind of stress, you're never just truly chilling. You're always under some kind of tension. The people can't do that. They were like, okay, I'll sit for a week, but what do you mean? I gotta go do this and that and that. I gotta move, I gotta live, I gotta be under stress. I'm addicted to this anxiety and the movement and the...
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
I never thought about it.
I think the States is similar in that regard. That's part of the reason why they refuse shut down so much. There's the mentality of always got to be on the hustle.
Yes.
And like it's an American psyche thing. Versus, you know, I mean, we definitely have some of that here too in Canada, I feel too, but less of an extreme.
Canada is more
Obviously,
extreme.
it's from 50s and 60s when it was a society that was valuing in science and progress and space travel and doing great things. You know, that's what happens when you get too much power.
One thing though that I am looking forward to is Canadian government put in the curriculum now mandatory computer science and finance education in early grades. I think if you teach kids the framework of thought, I'm not talking about like specifics. You know, when you go to class, when you learn like very specific history, okay, whatever. But a framework of thought, of logic based, of fact driven, of you know, in finance and computer science especially, the numbers either add up or they don't add up. There's nothing else.
It's objective.
Same thing, like, you know, we have to take global pandemics, finance, environmental causes, same thing. There's no wishy-washy.
I think of my high school education, I ended up doing applied math, so not academic math, but I had to take a personal finance course. Like there was the only credit you could take. And I think that was probably the most important bit of education I ever had. And I like loved history, I loved art class, and I enjoyed those classes, but in terms of like something that was a real world skill that I immediately used into adulthood, how to budget, how to manage your finances, how to pay a check, like, you know, it's like that type of stuff, like that was immediately useful in every bit of my life, and I still do it today, actually. And thanks to that, I actually felt like I had a leg up than a lot of my peers, especially when I was a young adult, where, you know, you get your first little bit of money as you go to university, or you get your first job that pays more than minimum wage or something, and then you blow it all in 1 week or something like that, and then you're like, oh shit, I got rent to pay. I never had that problem because I was like, okay, well, how much of that do I need for my own expenses, and then how much of that do I need to where I can, like, you know, spend it on myself and enjoy myself. And like, once you know your limits, it's actually like pretty easy to like be like, should I move to a larger apartment? Yes, no. Should I like go out to the bar on this Friday, or should I just do it once a month?
My phone, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for this. That was amazing. Thank you. Really awesome group of people. Love the conversations. Love the area. It's really, you know, this whole aspect and topic of what is home. How do you feel at home? I think this is home. Everyone's being authentic and real.
Pretty much everything here just kind of brought up. Just like rammed it all in.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So you officially declare that you like dogs more than cats?
I can't say that. I have a cat and a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No favorites.
That's true centrism.
I'm an animal person.
I'm a cat person. Really? I just love that.
I like both for cat.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of stuff now is actually being marketed to where, like, women media too.
Maybe, when is
I think it actually has been, I don't know for sure, but I think it's opening next week. I can't say anything for sure. I can't check with them.
a surprise bonus stop we're making is at Echo.
So a relatively new addition to the neighborhood. Again, another big shop that has amazing finds.
Yeah. If you're looking for mid-century modern, this is the place to go. I would say in Toronto, actually.
Take a look. Ooh, I love
We're
it
about
already.
to reach out to
Love it already. This looks like something my grandparents would come in here.
Oh, it's a mess.
Yeah.
It's always a mess. So I'm like, I'm going to clean out my back area today, which involves taking everything out.
You know, if this wasn't a mess, you wouldn't be good with it.
You know what? It's funny. My husband and I both talked about this. All we do is problem solve.
Yeah.
You know, his job, he's a commercial producer of radio. He's working from home. His office is up in the basement. And like, that's all we do all day long. We create problems and then we find out different ways to fix them. And today I'm like, I'm going to reorganize the back because I need to find stuff. Hi, welcome to Ethel. It's a bit of a mess, but that's how I preface any.
How long have you been here already?
We've been in this location. We bought the building 2 years ago. We saw it July 2018. We bought it. We got it in November because it took us a while to get our shit figured out.
Yeah.
And it was a crappy little variety store. And nothing was to coding here. In fact, when I had my electrician do the walkthrough, he's like, we can't save any of this. We have to do all
It's gotta go.
It's gotta go. So we opened in April 2019. And our focus has been, currently it's just, you know, staying alive.
Right.
But I've had the store for 11 years. And in my old locations, I knew what sold. And in here, I'm discovering this neighborhood has a different vibe. And that's affecting how I'm picking and how I'm buying. And that's you know, that's how it should be because I'm my core customer. I like vintage, I like cheap and cheerful, I like silly stuff. But what does the neighborhood want? And what's selling right now? Barware. Everyone's drinking. So I do a good mix of vintage and new. I do some new barware from Cocktail Emporium. I bring in some new products. And small furniture, because not everybody wants a $3,000 sofa, but they want a $125 side table.
Right.
So that's affecting how I'm buying. And how do I buy? I buy like I always do. I buy from people who are doing house clear outs, from people who are real estate agents. I buy a lot from estate sales, from auctions. So we get a lot of project furniture, hence the mess at the back. We're getting it dealt with. But how we've we were happy to get our doors reopened. I think we reopened in June. And I'm just paying attention to the consumers and what they're looking for. And one of the biggest things that I did when we opened in this location was I used Shopify. I used to do everything by hand. I did all my receipts by hand. I had a Moneris terminal. I would input everything by hand. And I knew I wanted to do an e-commerce platform when we reopened here. So I started with Shopify, but I never really finished e-commerce until we had to close. So I spent 2 weeks just photographing inventory, getting it uploaded, and that's helped me with the bookkeeping. It's helped me just streamline everything. So this baby is my best friend. I take pictures, I get stuff uploaded.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing here.
No,
So less big pieces of furniture.
Big pieces aren't selling. And this has been, you know, I delivered a small dresser yesterday. The day before that, I delivered a little wicker bookshelf, a little, you know, metal stool, another little big pieces. You know, in my old location when we were in Leslieville, I used to be able to sell teak sideboards out the wazoo. I mean, everybody wanted the big one.
But everyone went there for that, right?
Everybody went there for that, and that's what Leslieville was known for. And they were retro row, and when I bought the store from the original owners, because I've had the store for 11 years, they had it for 10, people wanted those investment pieces. And I think what people are looking for now, they want those core pieces, but they've already got them. So they want the weird lamps, and they want the quirky stuff. So,
or the tiki drink stuff.
The tiki drink stuff, yes. We are big tiki files. We don't sell a lot of vintage tiki because we keep it, because we're
collectors.
We're collectors, and we end up just, no, we can't sell that. And that ends up going into the basement. So, so it's, and I think too, people are looking for comfort right now. So I'm selling a lot, believe it or not, fondue pots. Things to sort of make your home a little bit more cozy. I'm selling a lot more cheesy art, I think. And I've actually had people come in looking, they're like, I have to do Zoom meetings and I need something behind me. And I'm like, okay, well, how about a Conquistador modern Vanguard print from the 60s? And they love it. So it's kind of, and we're just, you know, paying money.
No, that makes sense.
Excellent.
To add an extra layer of stress.
I know, to add an extra layer of stress.
How the bike lanes are looking back at you?
They're fantastic. You know, I've had a couple people. I had one gentleman come in, and he was an older fella, and he was collecting signatures to complain about them. And I said, why? I've got people stopping and walking up the bikes and coming in. Those people will not stop in their cars. So the bike lanes have really, and I've had people say to me, I didn't know you were here. I've driven by your shop, and now I've got a chance to come in. And if you're driving a bike in a city, you're comfortable carrying purchases home. And that's been one of the things that people said, well, people on bikes aren't going to shop. No, they do it all the time. I've had people carry coffee tables home on bikes. They did it, and it was wicker, and it was light, and it was bouncers. But still, so I think the bike lanes have not been they've been fantastic. And even Cafe TO, we've had people who are now spending a little more time in the neighborhood, the place next door.
See if we can find something cool.
I have to say there's been a lot of support from the neighborhood.
I find foot traffic stuff.
Foot traffic is definitely that. And people are staying closer to home. So when we closed and we were getting stuff up on Shopify, as soon as I launched, 90% of my e-commerce purchases they wanted to buy it to come in, so it was 18% of that. And I would say the first 8% is and I'm happy with that. Oh, shit, stuff. I did do that in such a bunch of highlights. It's so instead of to Vancouver, but I mean, so that's what we're doing here.
All right.
Just ignore the mess.
We gotta go. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I just want to take
No,
a
it's
look
okay.
at
Don't stress. It's
Yeah,
kind of
take a look
the
around.
vibe of the video. It's
Well,
like, we're all like,
no, and I think that's the thing. It's like, you know, I tell them, look, it's just me. So I have to do all this. And I can't do it all. I tried. And then, you know, we live upstairs, so we're still working on our apartment upstairs, and we're building a bar, and we've got no wood here. Now we've got to get in the big guns, we've got to get more electrical, and we've got to get some plumbing work done, so we can't do it until that gets done. So.
yeah, well, if you ever do a soft opening, let me know.
Oh,
So,
we will.
To the bar.
We're building a.
Where? What?
Well.
How?
Okay, so we live upstairs, and it's going to be basically our restaurant. So we'll do private events down there.
Downstairs.
downstairs. So we've got it about 2/3 finished. But as you said, we have to get our electrician and plumber in because we've got to get that stuff
Right.
out. And then there's a few more big projects.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what we'll do.
All right.
We'll get there.
Amazing.
Thank you.
See you
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Perfect.
All right, that's a wrap.
That was an end to our surprise bonus footage.
I know it took a lot of time, but what a cool.
So how's it been during the pandemic? Like, obviously it's been a struggle for all business owners, but what in particular has struck you the most and stuck with you the most during this time?
I mean, the hardest for us is that the business directly serves an urgent need that's been created from COVID,
Right.
where parents can't work from home and need
Yeah.
support with childcare, and we can't take the number of parents we used to because we're
course,
limited
space-wise,
by
yeah.
COVID restrictions. So where we used to see 76 unique children in a week, now we're capped at 15 total ever.
Yeah.
And we only have 15 kids who, well, we only have 7, soon to be 8 kids out of the 15 who are even here. So the numbers are just so low, which from a sales perspective is incredibly stressful, but even just from a service provider perspective, like I have an answer that I know can help families,
Right.
and I can't help them.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's tough, and especially with the government, you know, there's been a little bit of ping-ponging restrictions, and obviously all 3 levels of government don't always agree on what the right protocol is, which I know it's been particularly hard. It's been confusing for me, and I have to tell you half of the information, right? So it's it's difficult too because there's also like a language barrier, because if you're not somebody that really understands government lingo, especially as not all business owners have university educations, you actually like almost need a university education to understand what information they're trying to tell you. I know navigating like grants and stuff like that has been like a headache.
Well, the wage subsidy is incredibly complex. Like,
Right.
you know, that you have to swear to different attestations,
Yeah.
according to law that I don't know. It's like swear to .172.B.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Sure,
that's
whatever.
been my answer the entire time. Sure.
Yeah, I just keep answering yes,
Click it.
right? And it's like, but then I was talking to, actually Bradford's office connected me with a lawyer that's helping with the wage subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, like, no, you should click no, because it's, one of the questions is about cash versus accrual basis accounting, and you're using cash, not accrual, so you need to make that clear. I'm like, so why doesn't the question ask that then?
Yeah.
Like, well, why is it asking? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Section 1.245. Like,
Yeah, I know.
no idea.
So, like, obviously, we're going to hopefully, knock on wood, well, glass in this case, see restrictions start to lift. Do you have any concerns, like, coming forward with those lifting restrictions, or can you foresee any trouble coming?
You know, so it's really interesting. I've paid really close attention to, and I promise this is going somewhere, I've paid really close attention to what tech companies have talked about with regulations.
Right.
And they've said, like, we won't censor speech. If the government wants us to censor speech, then regulate us.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of similarities with that as a business owner. So I won't close because it's very difficult to close. I have staff that I'm paying for, you know, as long as we're allowed to be open, I owe rent.
Yeah.
But in some ways I do wish the government would regulate us closed, because we are a space, we're an office space with an enclosed unit with childcare, with staff and families that we have to keep safe. And so as numbers continue to climb, the question becomes, is it safe to be open?
Right.
But we know the government is prioritizing businesses and keeping businesses open, and I appreciate that. But numbers are so low here right now that it's then a question of, like, well, we're open, but we're not open to a number where we're thriving.
Right.
And if we're putting anybody at risk, the morally right thing to do is close.
Right, yeah.
Right? But I can't close.
Right.
I can't opt to close. If I opt to close, my expenses remain the same and revenue drops to zero, and I'm bankrupt.
Yeah.
So that's not available to me. Being ordered closed would mean I could then take that order of closure to my landlord and say I can't possibly earn any revenue, so I need a pause on rent and hydro and all those things.
Yeah.
So it's a really tough situation because I feel like we're not making health decisions, we're making business decisions.
Right. In a health crisis.
In a health crisis where my sole business model is on helping families and keeping them well.
Right.
And I don't know which one of the options is better. The business option where they can come in and focus, or the health option where we all stay home.
Yes, at the core. I have bought so much product here. I have a personal car that's like all that stuff. Without me any help,
So tell us a little bit about how it started. Why?
We opened up our first shop down in Leslieville at Queen and Greenwood, and when our lease came up for renewal, we moved here. At the time, I wasn't 100% sure that this would have been the right move, but the neighborhood has really pulled through, and I think it was. I mean, it has definitely surpassed expectations. Yeah,
absolutely.
Very happy to be here.
So when I asked you earlier about your coffee expertise, you made a very clear point that what did you call yourself?
I said I wasn't a coffee expert. What I'm an expert is in the experience and making sure that people leave feeling good and feeling happy. You know, coffee shops can compete on a lot of different levels, whether it's, debatable who has the best coffee, who has the best scones and desserts, who has the best environment. But where I want to compete and where I want to win is making sure that we make people feel special. So that's what our goal is. So, I mean, I'm confident that we have good quality of every product, but that's not our main focus. Our main focus is experiential.
Something that's talking about fun and special. Something that's very fun and special are these new seats outside your coffee shop. Talk to us a little bit about this new addition. And
I mean, it's not going to last forever, but we work with the city to make sure that restaurants had some options to have some seating during the lockdown. So yeah, you can see that part of the street has actually been taken over by seating, and this outdoor space has been a lifesaver for a lot of restaurants and coffee shops and bars. And you can see right down there as well, we have the Wren there, which I don't know, it seems to me they maybe have more seating than before the lockdown. So this has done very well for us, and again has really given the strip a sort of Euro flair, where people are sitting out and having coffees, and you have it's a bustling action all around. So really adding to an animated retail strip.
Absolutely. So somebody who wouldn't be too familiar with Danforth, like myself, I wouldn't know I'm in Danforth right now. This could be Spain, this could be France, this could be Italy. Absolutely amazing.
Plaza Major.
Good job, guys. Fantastic. Any that's amazing. Cool. Let's take a little bit of a tour inside.
Sure.
See what's going on there.
So I have to put my mask on now. What you'll see is there's just a separating wall here because we blocked off the rest of the coffee shop. We didn't want anyone to have to walk in and see what they couldn't enjoy. So it is now strictly takeout. And we'll be opening this up once the lockdown restrictions are over. And we can finish some renos that we're working on inside.
Right. People don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
No.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.